Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 4 of What If Naruto Became a Green Lantern. If you guys enjoyed this What If, and want to see part 5 of it, comment down below, and let me know. The like goal for this video is 200 likes. So like this video, to let me know that you're interested in this series, and you want the next part. Check out my new videos of My Hero Academia What Ifs in my second channel, and give it some love as well. Link is in the description. And go ahead and check out other What Ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. The two members of the Konoha Council stood in front of the Hokage's desk. Naruto just stared at the elderly pair with dread. "What's going on?" asked Naruto, although he already had a guess. "The old fools here were telling the busty Hokage that they wanted to keep you confined to the village," Killer Bee explained. Naruto had expected that reaction from the council members. "After bursting in here while the Kazekage was still in the room?" asked Naruto, pointing out that Gaara was standing next to Tsunade in what appeared to be support of her. Before either he or Tsunade could say anything on the matter, Homura and Koharu stood in front of Naruto. "Naruto Uzumaki, it is the decision of the council that your request for resignation from Konoha's shinobi roster is to be denied," said Homura. Naruto crossed his arms over his chest. "I'll admit that I don't know all that much about procedure or anything, but last time I checked, that decision belonged to the Hokage herself, not the council." Both Koharu and Homura were slightly surprised that he knew that. However, they kept their cool as Homura responded. "Normally that is true, however we felt that given recent events." Naruto noticed that they were both looking at the new accessory on his right hand's middle finger as Homura spoke. "We feel it necessary to intervene in this case." So in other words, it was exactly how Octopop said it. Naruto responded and looked behind them to look at Tsunade. "Am I right, Granny?" he asked. Normally Tsunade would be annoyed at the nickname Naruto gave her, but today it was a moment of relief to her. Getting back to the subject at hand, she stood up from her chair behind her desk. "You would be correct, Naruto," she answered. "Initially I had summoned you here to talk for obvious reasons when our esteemed Konoha Council decided to advise me to convince you to not resign for the good of the village," Tsunade further explained, glaring at the council. "At the same time, that I was in the office no less," said Gaara. "I thought with examples like you, Tsunade, older people tended to be wiser than that," said Naruto to Gaara and Tsunade, as if pretending that Homura and Koharu weren't even in the room. A joke that was quickly noticed by the two between them. "Enough," said Koharu. "Naruto Uzumaki, given the current state of the village, your sudden decision to resign as a Konoha shinobi is not only selfish but ill-timed," she continued. "Selfish?" Naruto asked the fun over and him now getting angry at what the old bitch had said. "I'm sure that she explained to you what has happened in the last few days. On how the fact that we are not the only ones out there in the universe, or the fact that there is an intergalactic peacekeeping corporation that I have now been selected to join. Or did you just barge into her office demanding her to try and keep me from resigning?" Naruto told her, with him uncrossing his arms and pointing at the ring on his right hand's middle finger to make the point across. "Last one pretty much summed it up," muttered Killer Bee. Koharu wasn't going to stand for this little upstart's outburst though. "Whatever else is going on with this visitor is unimportant," said Koharu to the entire group before focusing on Naruto once again. "Naruto Uzumaki, given the trauma that may have occurred from your fight with Sasuke, and since we know nothing of what effects this ring has placed on your mind in its fragile state, the council has decided to disregard whatever decision the Hokage has made or would have made in this matter," she told him. Immediately after finishing her tirade, she and Homura could feel the stares coming from behind them from Tsunade and especially Gaara. "Naruto has saved us more times than I can count. He saved my life. He saved all our lives. In this war he helped save us all from the removal of our free will at the hands of Madara and Obito Uchiha. And afterwards he had to go through the hardship of killing his best friend after witnessing Sasuke murder the girl he loved. Now you have the audacity to deny him a decision that after everything he has done for your village, my village, and the entire ninja world you would dare try to take from him," said Gaara, furious that these all crones dared to try to take his friend's choice. Even if he himself or Killer Bee or Tsunade didn't understand the reason behind it at the moment. "What this boy wants does not matter," Koharu responded harshly to Gaara. He turned back to Naruto. "Naruto Uzumaki." She began feeling wary of having to deal with these naive fools who only thought of one person over the entire village. "It is the decision of this council that your resignation is to be denied at this time. In addition, this visitor of yours," she said with disdain on her voice, as one who would speak of as an enemy. "He at the very least raises concern, if not a threat to the village and the Ninja Alliance. Even if we were to believe in your word that he is from another world, a statement that I find preposterous, even more the reason to guard against him." She once again looked down at the ring on his finger before once again looking Naruto in the eye. "Along with this Hal Jordan security risk, we must also take measures that should have been taken years ago. You, Naruto Uzumaki, are officially confined to the village, until such a time that when you are needed by Konoha. She looked to Hamura who nodded and walked to Naruto with his hand held out. The ring that was given to you. Hand it over to us, he said. Hamura stood there waiting for him to give him this strange ring. Naruto however stood there doing nothing. I said give me the ring. He insisted, moving closer to grab it, only for Naruto to clench his hand into a fist and move it out of the way, the ring glowing as he did so. I think Naruto has given you his answer, said Tsunade suddenly as stood up from her chair to stand with Gaara. When last I spoke to you two, I told you both that you lack the ability to believe in the next generation of the shinobi of this village. If that was ever in doubt before, it is now. She spoke before crossing the room to stand in front of the desk staring right at them. Gaara is right. Naruto has more than earned the right to make this decision. Well, I do have reservations on his choice, or rather the speed of it. She glared at Naruto briefly, for which he couldn't help but scratch at the back of his head. His has made his decision and I shall stand by it, whether you like it or not. This child isn't in the right mind to make any decision, Hamura argued, pointing at Naruto. For all we know, between his grief from losing Sakura, you don't get to speak her name, yelled Tsunade as she smashed his fist on the desk, which shattered in two before the force of her fist. All of them were stunned at her outburst and looked at her with wide eyes. Although Naruto wasn't surprised at her reaction, he knew that she was hurting over the loss of Sakura just as he was. Tsunade took a deep breath to calm herself before calming down. Let's skip the pretenses here. We all know why you're both so determined to keep Naruto here, she said. You, like Danzo before you, still view Naruto as some secret weapon to use against the other villages. Especially now since he proven himself against all three remaining members of the Uchiha clan. And also, at the same time, that makes you scared shitless, said Color B, interjecting. Naruto's got you both scared so bad you probably pissing in your pants right now, you stupid old fools. He continued with a smile on his face. Both Hamura and Konoha soon grew nervous, because the fact was the eight-tailed Jinchuriki was correct. What made it worse is it happened under their noses. At the ripe old age of 16, Naruto had accomplished what many thought to be impossible. If Danzo were still alive, he would be fuming at the fact that Sarutobi did not let him induct Naruto into route. Nevertheless, they would not let him make the decision to leave the village of his own accord. They would have him become their weapon whether any of them liked it or not, for the sake of Konoha. On top of that, if what they had heard was true, then the ring Naruto possessed was a weapon that could make him even stronger. They had to confine him no matter if it cost them the Shinobi Alliance to do it. Despite Tsunade's idealism, they felt that this alliance would not last, and this peace that Naruto had created would crumble. In other words, they have given up on there ever being peace, thought Naruto, seeing the situation unfold. As Hokage, I decide whether or not that someone can resign from their commission, said Tsunade. She then turned to Naruto to look him in the eye. Naruto, above any of us, has the right to decide what to do with his life, regardless of how any of us feel about it. She turned her eyes back to the two council members. Whether you two believe it or not, we have just discovered that the stars we see above us every night are other worlds. Hal Jordan's arrival has proven that. But this comes to knowledge, that there are other species above us, and an organization, that from what Naruto has described as protectors of this vast universe. This same organization, that Naruto has been given the opportunity to join it. An organization that none of us here could have possibly imagined existing. For any of us to deny him this choice, after everything that has happened, is wrong, and I and my fellow Kage will not stand for it. She spoke. Naruto stood shocked in how willingly Tsunade was willing to defend him. When he was coming into her office, he assumed that she would try to talk him out of joining the Corps. Yet here she was defending his right to make that decision whether any of them liked it or not. However, just as always, Hamura and Konoha refused to budge on this issue. You foolish child, screamed Konoha. The only thing that this child has proven is that he is a valuable weapon. We should have had him become a member of Root from the moment Min the Fourth sealed the Kyuubi in him, she said. Naruto immediately noticed her almost saying his father's name. It was then he decided that enough was enough. And being chosen for whatever this group is solidifies the reason too. Konoha suddenly found her tirade silenced by what appeared to be a glowing green gag across her mouth. As she tried to pry it off, the rest turned to see Naruto with his ring hand in a fist raised at Konoha. Before Hamura could protest this act of defiance, Naruto swung his hand and fired off another gag construct on his mouth, with him muffling the same way that Hamura was now. Finally, somebody shut those old fools up, exclaimed Killer Bee. After the initial shock, Tsunade had to hold her sides, trying, but failing, not to laugh at the council members' situation. Even Gaara was smiling as he saw the two daughters try to pry the gags off, and seeing their construct stretch like taffy, but refusing to remove themselves from their mouths. You know, the more I use this thing, the more I like it, Naruto said, looking at his fist while walking past the struggling council members to stand in between Tsunade and Gaara. Hey, pay attention, you old geezers. The gags won't be removed until I say so. Stop struggling, said Naruto as he turned to face them. seeing as their struggling to remove them wasn't getting anywhere, so they just stood there staring at him like he was the one in trouble, when in truth it was the other way around. Now then, first off, you don't get to say anything about my father. Both of the old geezers whitened their eyes, and hearing this, yeah, that's right. I know that my father was Minato Namikaze, who was the 4th Hokage. I also know that my mother was Kushina Uzumaki, the previous Jinchuriki, before he sealed it in me, Naruto said. Tsunade's eyes whitened in surprise that Naruto had decided to reveal that fact that he knew his heritage. Killer Bee kept his expression neutral, but smiled when he saw the looks on the council's faces. He already guessed that Naruto was his son, given the resemblance between the man he saw all those years ago and the kid that appeared to him on the island. The only one who was truly surprised at this was Gaara, though for the moment he decided to keep quiet since Naruto had the floor. More importantly, he continued, I know the truth about the Uchiha massacre. About how Danzo, with your support I might add, ordered him to spy on the Uchiha clan on the suspicion that an Uchiha summoned and took control of Kurama. After finding out that they were planning a coup d'etat against the village, Danzo, again with your support, ordered him to assassinate his own clan including his own mother and father, he ranted. Now this was a surprise to everyone in the room, especially the two gagged old people in the room. Naruto, how do you know this? Asked Tsunade with some hesitation. Naruto turned to her. Obito told me when me, Kakashi-sensei and Captain Yamato stayed in the Land of Iron. Then he turned back to the two council members, which Itachi confirmed when I ran into him and Nagato resurrected. He took a moment to calm his anger before once again looking at them both straight in the eye. Judging from the looks on your faces, I would say, if not for the gags on your mouths, you would be saying this was for the good of the village, right? He asked. They just stared at him in defiance, and Naruto could see the delusional belief in their eyes. I'll take that as yes, Naruto said with a shake in his head. He closed his eyes and took another deep breath. Then looking at them straight in the eyes, he spoke. This war, Obito's ambition to change this world and take people's free will and ability to forge their own destiny, that was his doing long before this conspiracy against the Uchiha began. So, I won't fault you for that. However, the manner in which you two and Danzo decided to murder an entire clan, instead of at least attempting to rectify it peacefully, made it worse. If not for your single-minded idea that the only way to achieve peace is with force, then maybe Itachi would still be alive, the Uchiha clan would not have to be massacred, and Sasuke would not have become the monster he turned into, and killed Sakura, Naruto said. The last part he still had difficulty saying, since he now hated Sasuke for what he had done to Sakura. If it were up to me, I would have you removed from your positions as Konoha's council. But it isn't. He continued looking to Tsunade. She saw the look in his face and realized that whether or not there would still be a Konoha council would be up to her. Naruto then removed the gags that were on their mouths forcefully. Hamura and Konoha breathed hard as their mouths were free. He moved from the center, nodding to Tsunade to let her have the floor. Here is what is going to happen. As the Hokage of Konoha, I have decided to replace the Konoha council. She simply stated. You cannot do this, Tsunade, said Hamura, but Tsunade simply glared at him, which shut him up again. As Hokage, I have every right if I feel the council has become corrupted. You should feel fortunate that I can't throw you in prison for conspiracy of mass murder. Now I will ask you once, get out of my office now, she responded, turning her back on her. You cannot replace this council. Who will be there to advise the next Hokage or help with the village? She was suddenly interrupted when both she and Hamura found themselves lifted off their fleet. They turned their head around to see Killer Bee holding them by the back of their robes, with them shaking their legs. Mind if I take the old fools out the door? He asked the three standing before him. Naruto and Gaara looked at Tsunade, who was just smiling at him. She then walked over to them. This is how it goes. You can either allow me to dissolve this council and let you two retire with some form of dignity. Something I am having extreme reservations about, she said to them with her hands or her hips. Or you can try to fight me on this. But keep in mind, Hamura and Konoha, that if you do try to fight this decision, the knowledge that Naruto has on your involvement with the Uchiha massacre will be made public, not just to the village. She turned to Gaara. But my fellow Kage, tell me, Gaara, what do you think would be the punishment for basically creating the events for what has happened in the past few years? I believe imprisonment by the daimyo at best, or execution at worst for crimes that created the Fourth Great Shinobi War. As Inoki stated, I am young. I am sure we can summon the rest of the Kage back here, despite the growing last hour, said Gaara, turning around to see the sun had set and night has started to fall. So what say you? She asked of the now disgraced council members. They looked to each other, and their faces fell in defeat and shame, as they both simply nodded their heads. We will agree to the terms, said Hamura with some defiance that Tsunade scoffed at. Take the trash of my office, she ordered. With pleasure, he simply stated, then tucked both of them under his arms and walked off. As he went out the door with the two disgraced council members under his arms, Tsunade looked to Shizune, was just standing there the whole time watching the events unfold. She was still shocked over Tsunade breaking the desk in half. Shizune followed him. Make sure that Kaharu and Hamura start packing to leave the village immediately, she ordered. Yes, milady, Shizune said as she ran right after Killer Bee. After she left, it was just Naruto, Tsunade, and Gaara in the office. Moments passed in silence. The two old former members of the Konoha Council had interrupted what was supposed to be between them. Naruto looked at the broken desk that was beside them. He then turned to Tsunade. You're going to need a new desk, he said with straight face. At first Tsunade's eyes whitened. She looked at the broken-in-half desk and then back at Naruto and Gaara, who was also surprised that at this time, with Naruto preparing to leave the world that they now knew was Ochnin and his career as a ninja behind. Then suddenly she started to hold herself back from laughing, until she could hold it no more and started laughing out loud hysterically. Naruto soon found himself laughing out loud as well. Gaara, being more reserved than the other two, just smiled at the joke and at watching them laugh. Their laughter came to an end then as they walked over to the windows to see a quarter of the sun setting in the distance. Naruto, before we get into the reasoning behind your decision, I must ask something, said Tsunade. No, Naruto simply stated out of the blue. Tsunade looked at him confused. He turned to look at her. You were going to ask if the old man was involved with the decision to destroy the Uchiha clan. The answer is no, he wasn't. He even opposed it, he explained. Tsunade gave a sigh of relief at hearing that. Deep down she knew that Sarutobi-sensei would have nothing to do with such an act. However, since there was no documentation, and with Root being so secretive, she doubted she could have found any information on what happened. In any case, interjected Gaara, eager to get back to the reason they were here. Naruto, this decision that you have made to leave to become a member of this organization, are you certain that you wish to join them? Gaara, you're not the first person to ask me these past few days, said Naruto, rubbing the back of his head. It's a fair question, Naruto, said Tsunade, also getting back to the matter at hand. I told you not to make this decision hastily, yet here you are doing that. Realize that you are essentially giving up your career as a ninja to join this group. The group Ukami knows faces dangers that are at least equivalent to what we all went through in this war. You're saying this like I made a rash decision just out of the blue. I did give this some thought, Granny, said Naruto, already getting tired of having to explain himself over the decision he made. But why? Why are you willing to give up everything you have worked so hard to achieve, especially when you being Hokage seems so close now? Asked Gaara. Naruto turned to look at both of them straight in the eyes. Granny, before the ring appeared on the Hokage monument, do you remember what we were talking about? He asked. We were essentially talking about the same thing we are now. Why you don't want to be Hokage anymore? I thought it was because of Sakura's death and you having to kill Sasuke, she said. That's part of it, admitted Naruto. He touched his stomach right above his seal. Me and Kurama already talked about it. The truth is I can't deny that Sakura's death is one of the reasons why I don't want it anymore. Believe it or not, I don't have any guilt when it comes to killing that bastard Sasuke, he said. Both Gaara and Tsunade were not surprised on his changed feelings for his former best friend, Tsunade especially. But more than that is the fact that I can't see myself sitting in front of a desk ordering others to fight and die. Nor do I really see myself as being a leader of anything, much less a ninja village. I prefer being with my friends and fellow comrades, whether they be from my village. He then looked towards Gaara, or another village. He then looked down at his ring, or as a Green Lantern. He finished. And we are now headed towards that path of working together. Thanks in large part to you, said Gaara. Exactly. This world is finally on the path to peace. And that's another thing, being a Green Lantern gives me the chance to go to other worlds and peoples who need it. That's their mission, he said. But do you have to give up being a ninja to do it? Asked Tsunade. Hal Jordan said it himself. You can still have a life here on your homeworld, she reminded further. Even so, he said, moving his right hand that was on his stomach, turning it into a fist to look at the ring. Tomari protected this whole sector of space by himself. He had to leave whatever career he had on his homeworld to become a Green Lantern. They all had to. I have no right to any less than them. I have a responsibility to this sector. So yes, I can still visit, or even still live on Ochnin. But I can't split my focus from being a ninja or a Green Lantern. I have to give my all to this. And besides, I need to do this. Not for my village, not for Ochnin, not even for the space sector. I need to do this for me, said Naruto with desire in his voice. Tsunade and Gaara were puzzled at this. Naruto realized this and decided to explain further. Tsunade and Gaara looked at each other for a moment. Naruto anticipated more of them trying to talk him out of it. After a minute, Tsunade shrugged her shoulders. Told you he wouldn't budge on this, she said. Gaara nodded his head in agreement. Naruto now found himself confused. They turned to look at him. We and the rest of the cage had a meeting regarding your decision, said Gaara. We wanted to be sure if you would not change your mind on this. Gaara, there has been only one time where I went back on my word. We both know when, said Naruto. Gaara looked at him apologetically then. Naruto, she said in a tone which gained his full attention, and off the painful subject. I know that you have been asked this a lot these past few days, but I have to ask again. Are you certain you wish to do this? She asked. Naruto nodded. Tsunade sighed in response. Very well then, said Tsunade. Though she and Gaara were sad to see him leave, she was impressed with his resolve to honor what the fallen Green Lantern stood for. Deep in her heart, however, she also felt immense pride in Jiraiya's student. He fulfilled the prophecy of the Toad Sage, and now was going to be a part of something bigger than any of them had ever imagined. That did not mean, however, he would leave empty-handed. Gaara, realizing that this was something that should be between them, decided to leave them be now that any doubts about Naruto's decision was put to rest. Naruto, when you and Lady Tsunade are done here, meet me, and Killer be at the Hokage monument, he said. Gotcha, said Naruto. Gaara nodded to Tsunade, then left the office, leaving Tsunade and Naruto alone. Tsunade walked over to what was left of the desk she destroyed in anger, moved the left half of it out of the way to reveal a large scroll, and placed it in front of him. Naruto recognized as a sealing scroll similar to the scroll of seals that he had tried to steal all those years ago. The scroll was about as large as that scroll, but the outside container that was holding it was black. What really got his attention was the symbol in the center of it. It was the same symbol he had seen on the flak jackets of the Chunin and Jonin of the village. You've seen this symbol before many times, but do you know what it is? She asked. Naruto shook his head. I didn't think so. Truth is, not many do. The symbols is that of the Uzumaki clan, your clan, Naruto, she said. Naruto's eyes widened and looked at the symbol with great respect. After Uzashigakure fell, many of your clan scattered to other villages and integrated themselves into them. One of them was your mother Kushina Uzumaki, the other being Mito Uzumaki, my grandmother, she said with pride. So that means, Naruto said, thinking of what that meant. It means you aren't that far off when you call me granny, yes, she said, thinking of how annoying it was that Naruto was more accurate when he called her that. More to the point is this, she said, putting her hand on top of the scroll. Within this scroll is contained all the knowledge and history of your clan. This includes their expertise in Fuinjutsu, said Tsunade. How long has it been in the village? Said Naruto, looking at the scroll with curiosity. Since Mito Uzumaki first arrived, Tsunade responded. In other words, it's been here since the era of the first Hokage, said Kurama, speaking for the first time during this whole conversation. I'm guessing it is a sealing scroll, asked Gaara. Yes, said Tsunade, turning her head to him before turning back to Naruto. This is all great, but why is it here? He asked. Tsunade shook her head while Kurama slapped his hand paw into his face. It's your inheritance, Naruto, exclaimed Tsunade, remembering that Naruto was still thick on certain subjects. Naruto's eyes looked again at the scroll bearing his clan symbol. Granny, I don't need. Naruto, don't you dare finish that sentence, ordered Tsunade, pointing her finger at him. 1. This was going to be given to you when you reached maturity, but since you plan to be going across the stars for Kami knows how long, you are going to get it now. And 2, you can't say you don't deserve it, because let's be honest, you do. So, you don't get a choice or a vote on this. Understand? Naruto could tell she was serious about this, but at the same time she seemed to have certain light in her eyes that made him think she enjoyed watching him squirm to avoid being hurt. Even Gaara seemed intimated. Naruto put his hands up. Okay, no more arguing here, he said. But, now like I said, it contains all the knowledge of the Uzumaki clan's Fuinjutsu as per your parents' will. In addition, they have also included several scrolls within it listing jutsu of your primary element, which is wind, along with several other elemental ninjutsu when and if you discover what your second element is. Some of which I am sure you are itching to use or create yourself, I imagine, said Tsunade. Naruto rubbed the back of his head at the last one. Finally, said Tsunade, again reaching into her destroyed desk to open one of the drawers. Your parents along with Jiraiya. She took a moment to hold back her tears before continuing, while Naruto kept silent at the mention of his godfather's name. Had made a trust fund that was attached to your parents' will when passed away. Upon his death, Jiraiya had added this trust fund to the amount that was put away by your parents. She turned around and held out a small envelope. Inside this envelope contains a pay stub of your parents and Jiraiya trust fund that has been transferred into your account. Let me assure you, Naruto, that it is substantial, she explained. Naruto, well impressed with the implication of how much, started to think of something. Can I even use money from my homeworld? You can always ask Hal, but I think the Green Lantern Corps can make whatever species currency into money that can be used on other planets, said Kurama. Naruto nodded to himself as he ripped open the envelope. When he looked upon what he was receiving, the word surprise would be an understatement. Granny, if this is a way to bribe me into reconsidering my decision, you're doing too much, he said, looking at the amount. Wish I was. That is what they left you, she responded. Naruto kept looking at the amount in the pay stub. 55 million ryo. Kid, that's pretty much the value of 10 Jonin's retirement pensions, said Kurama in his head. Naruto continued to look on in a stunned stupor. I also included your finally payment as a jonin, she said. The last part woke Naruto up as he looked upon her again. Jonin? Last time I checked Granny I was still ranked a genin. I haven't even taken the Chunin exams yet. Naruto, you just ended the 4th Great Ninja War, defeated Obito, Sasuke, Madara Uchiha and Kaguya, from which has brought peace to the entire world of what is this planet called now. She explained then asked. Ajnin? Naruto said. I'd need to get used to calling it that. Point is this world will still have troubles, but on the whole you have brought a stabilizing peace that will actually last. You helped brought all the nations together. Finally you have been chosen by what appears to be an elite group in charge of doing basically this, and more on a daily basis. I think you have more than earned the rank of Jonin and the pay that comes with it. Naruto for his part was feeling more than a little embarrassed as Tsunade listed all that he accomplished, rubbing his head. Fine, I guess I have no choice but to take it, said Naruto with a smile on his face. Tsunade returned it, but then she started to tear up. As Naruto pocketed the pay stub he suddenly found himself being hugged by Tsunade. Naruto hesitated for a moment, still unfamiliar being hugged by a woman. The last time that had happened was when Sakura hugged him. Eventually he returned the hug knowing that this may be the last time he'd see her or anyone from his homeworld again. Tsunade understood why it had taken a moment for Naruto to return her hug. She blamed herself and Sakura for not always showing or telling how much Naruto meant to both of them. Maybe being a Green Lantern could help change that. She released him from the hug, but still held him by his shoulders. Do you remember what I said to you after we fought Orochimaru and Kabuto? She asked. Naruto looked back all those years ago and remembered with a smile. It was when Naruto in his impetuous youth had challenged Tsunade for a second time. After he had knocked his headband off, instead of flicking him on the forehead, she had kissed his forehead. She then put her hand on his chest and said to him, "You'll be a fine man." He repeated her words out loud. "I also thought a great Hokage," she said, repeating her thoughts out loud. "You have grown to be a fine young man, Naruto Uzumaki. Don't doubt that. The one thing that does change," she looked down at the power ring on his finger, "is that you now become a great Green Lantern. These people got lucky when that ring chose you. Don't let them forget it," she said. Naruto simply nodded and smiled with pride at her words. "Now you better see Gar. It's getting late and you have a big day tomorrow," she said, looking out at the window and seeing the sun nearing the end of setting. Naruto grabbed the clan scroll and strapped it to his back. Walking towards the exit door, Naruto took one last look at Tsunade. "See you around, Granny," he said before exiting. After hearing the door close, Tsunade looked at the setting sun and seeing the stars start to come out. Holding her arms to herself, she wondered if this what mothers and grandmothers feel when seeing their young children and grandchildren grow up and leave home. She was struggling to keep the tears at bay. "I'm going to miss that kid," she said to herself. After a few minutes she heard the door open. She turned to see Shizune walk in. "Well, have they been taken care of?" she asked. "Yes, both elders are currently in their quarters. I believe they may be preparing to leave the village. Should I post guards on their quarters?" asked Shizune. "No, let them go. Whatever else they may have become, they still earned the right to come and go from the village," Tsunade responded. She then turned around to look at her. "Have the preparations been made for tomorrow?" she asked. "Yes. Prior to the council's interruption everything has been set up," Shizune answered with confidence. "Good. Get some sleep, Shizune. We need to be there for Naruto's send-off," ordered Tsunade. Sniffling at the thought, Shizune nodded and left. Hokage Monument, evening of the last day. After dropping off his newly acquired inheritance at his apartment, Naruto quickly flew to the Hokage Monument. From above, he could see Gaara and Killer Bee standing on top of the force head. Killer Bee was the first to spot him as he floated down to meet them. "Hey, Naruto!" he screamed, waving his hand. Naruto floated down and switched out of his uniform. "Nice of you to join us, mere mortals," said Killer Bee with a smile. Naruto looked at him, perplexed at him. Gaara was doing the same thing. "What?" he asked. "I just met you officially tonight, and even I know that when you speak you rap," said Gaara with his arms crossed. "Yeah, Octopops, you feeling okay?" Naruto asked. "Hey, I just found out that my boy here," he said, pointing to Naruto, "is leaving to parts unknown up there," he said, pointing to the now star-filled sky, "to join an organization that will make what we faced in the war look easy. So yeah, I think tonight is a good night to go out of character." Killer Bee responded with a serious tone that was unusual for the boisterous rapper. "He has a point, Naruto. You save the shinobi world and bring a lasting peace to it, and the first thing that happens is a ring finds you. We find out that we are not alone, and those stars are in fact other worlds out there, and to top it, you join this Green Lantern Corps," said Gaara, agreeing with Killer Bee. "What he said also includes Sakura's death," said Naruto. That quickly brought a somber mood to the three, and made them remember who they lost. Not just Sakura, but also Shikamaru's father, who died when headquarters was destroyed. "Naruto, I know this is difficult to ask given what is to occur tomorrow, but I have to ask. How do you feel about all of this?" Gaara asked with concern. It was true. When Tomari's ring found him, he was still in the early stages of grief. It was no doubt that Sakura dying played in his mind still good question. He said, closing his eyes tight as he looked back at the moment after he killed Sasuke. Turning away from Sasuke's sinking corpse, he looked at the body that he held in his arms. The adrenaline wears off, the anger fades as he looks down at Sakura's body, her eyes closed never to open again. He comes to the realization. Sakura Haruno, the girl he loved, was dead. Shaking his head to stop the memory from playing out again, he turned to his friends. I wouldn't lie to you guys. I wouldn't say I'm fine with it cause I'm not. It's something I will live with for the rest of my life. That I wasn't fast enough to get to her, that I took too long to do what should have been done. All I know is that right now this feels right. He said, bring his right hand to a fist to show them the ring. This is something I can do. Helping people and fighting the good fight has always been my nature. I see that now. I can't do that as Hokage. When I first wanted it, I wanted the village to acknowledge me. I got that anyway just from my deeds alone. Then I wanted it because I felt I could protect everyone I cared about. I failed in that when Sasuke killed Sakura, and killing him didn't help. And you think that becoming a Green Lantern will? Asked Killer Bee. Maybe, but also because it's the right thing to do. Naruto answered. How did I know you were going to say that? Said Gaara with a sigh. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders. Well, that settles it then. Said Killer Bee as he rubbed the back of his head while shaking it. What of you, Kurama? Are you fine with Naruto's decision? Asked Jayuki via telepathy to his fellow tailed beast. Who do you think was the one who encouraged the boy? Kurama responded. Besides, the knowledge that this ring has brought to me, I am now curious on what is out there in this universe. Naruto won't say it, but he is thinking the same thing. And he needs this to help him move on. What he said Naruto. Then whatever this new path set you both upon may continue to be of your own choosing from now on. Said Jayuki. Naruto and Kurama both mentally nodded to him. Just make sure you and your host can pick up this slack. With us gone, it's going to be up to you two to help the rest of the cage and the villagers. Now I am worried. Kurama chuckled at the thought. Jayuki just shook his head. Killer Bee had a smirk on his face. Naruto then turned to Gaara. Gaara, I have a favor to ask. Name it, said Gaara without hesitation. The 7 of us, the Jinchuriki that didn't make it to here. Something needs to be made to honor those who were taken by Beto and Mater. They need to have something that people remember that they and the tailed beasts weren't forgotten. Said Naruto with a solemn determination. Gaara had a genuine smile on his face upon hearing this. I shall propose to the rest of the cage to pose a monument to the 7 Jinchuriki who fell in war. The unsung heroes shall be heard. I am assured that they will support it. Good. Alright, enough of this gloom and doom. You got to be ready for this, Naruto. You about to take a step none of us even dreamed of when the sun comes up. Said Killer Bee. Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. It was getting late, and he needed to try and get some sleep. Transforming back to his uniform, he prepared to fly off when Killer Bee spoke. You know, green and black are kinda good colors for you. He said. Naruto looked down at himself. Yeah, I guess they do. He said. Smiling at both of them, he flew off back to his apartment. Watching him go, Killer Bee just smiled and shook his head. Man, that looks like a hell of a lot of fun. He turned to Gaara. Can't you do something like that with your sand? No, best I can do is a floating platform. Inoki can fly, but I doubt at the same speed as Naruto can with his ring. Said Gaara. Killer Bee could have sworn there was a hint of jealousy in his voice. Do you think he'll be surprised with the send-off we're giving him? Gaara just smiled. As Naruto flew towards his apartment, Kurama spoke up. You nervous about tomorrow? He asked. Not so much. Leaving will be the toughest part, but it's something we have to do. Naruto responded. Yeah, we're about to enter a whole new stage, kid. I mean, seeing things that no one on Ajnin has ever seen. You ready for that? Said Kurama. After everything else, yeah. I was thinking I needed to get away for a while. This just means I can make a difference while doing that. Naruto said. They reached their apartment. Naruto went inside and once again went to his sleeping role, hoping he could get some sleep. Without nightmares of the past for once. And be ready for the dawn of a new day in his life. Above Ajnin's atmosphere, Hal and Ganthet had arrived, looking down on the planet. Ganthet looked down on it perplexed. Can you give me an analysis of the planet, Hal Jordan? He asked. Hal nodded and used his ring to run a quick planetary scan. It took only a few minutes for the scan to finish. Anything unusual? Ganthet asked. Nothing that I can see on the planet itself, Ganthet. I compared it to what was stated on the database from Earth. They're pretty much identical. Even down to using oxygen to the mass of the planet itself. Very then. We should head down to surface then. Said Ganthet, motioning Hal to move ahead. Being that he had been here before, it made Hal Jordan, Ganthet's guide on this world. Hal nodded and they flew towards the planet. As they did, it was on this side of the planet's axis that the morning sun was beginning to rise. When they reached the surface, they then moved into the direction of Konoha. Along the way, Ganthet saw what Hal Jordan and John Stewart had seen. The land was filled with craters, some large to potentially change the landscape in some areas. He could also see where there seemed to be many different weapons on the ground, and all of them were appeared to be from the time period of the Japanese in the case of ninjas. However, none of Earth's Japanese culture had depicted open war as it appeared on these battlefields. Looking at this, I'm still trying to figure out how Tomori didn't notice that this ninja war was going on this planet, said Hal suddenly, as if giving Ganthet's thoughts to voice. That, I'm afraid, is still one of the many mysteries surrounding this world, Hal. As is the reason Sinestro himself would come here in the first place. It may take some time to find the answers to those questions. After all, these people just now found out that they are not alone in the universe. Most of all, the ring has chosen one of their own. We must take care on how to proceed, Ganthet advised. Yeah, you're right, Ganthet. In any case, there it is, said Hal as they both saw the village in their sights. Ganthet could see that the village was, as Hal stated, going through reconstruction. Structures and wooden beams were being built and he could see people working on them. They decided to fly above this toward the Hokage's office building. The people of Konoha already were shocked to see a flying man above them. Ganthet wasn't sure on what their reaction was if they saw him. They discreetly landed in front of the building and saw a young brunette woman standing there waiting for them. Even so, there Hal could see people staring at them from behind. There wasn't hate in their eyes, per se, just a wariness about them. Understandable considering everything that has happened. Good morning, Hal Jordan. I am Shizune, assistant to the Lady Hokage, said Shizune. Although she sounded pleasant enough, Hal Jordan could hear a distinct hint of bitterness in her voice. Hello, Shizune, Hal responded. He then motioned to Ganthet standing next to him. This is Ganthet. He is one of the guardians of the universe that I mentioned the last time I was here. Shizune, for her part, was stunned. When Hal mentioned that to them, that the ones who made the rings and essentially monitored and managed the Green Lanterns, she was imagining what they looked like. It wasn't the blue skin or the long white hair that he had. What shocked was his height. He has to be 3 feet tall at the least, Shizune thought to herself. Ganthet then bowed respectfully to her. Greetings, Ms. Shizune, he said in a voice and tone that had her picturing him like his grandfather. I believe that you are here to escort us to Lady Tsunade then, he asked politely. She shook her head to get herself out of her surprised stupor. Yes sir. If you don't mind, she replied. Of course not, said Ganthet. However, with your permission, could Hal Jordan be able to find Naruto and have him join us later? Shizune gave it some thought. The 5K had planned for when it was time for Naruto to leave, so she wasn't sure if that would fit into their plans. However, he did say that Naruto would meet them later, so it shouldn't be a problem. I don't see why not, but why? Asked Shizune. It's nothing to worry about, Ms. Shizune. It's just that the Guardian Council, that I am a member of, to simply we don't get out that much. Usually when it comes to diplomatic matters, we leave it to our Green Lanterns who are more than capable of handling it. However, your species is new to the intergalactic community, so I felt it appropriate for one of us to come to meet one of your leaders directly. Ganthet explained. I see, said Shizune, immediately starting to like this little guy. Well then, I don't see a problem as long as it's about an hour or so. Thank you for your indulgence on this matter, said Ganthet, bowing in respect. Hal, if you would. Got it, Hal said, flying off to find Naruto. Now then, shall we? Said Ganthet, motioning to the door. What? Oh yes sir, this way, said Shizune, shaking her head after seeing Hal take off. Ganthet floated up to Shizune's height and hovered beside her as they entered the building, ignoring the stairs that followed them. It's my height, isn't? He asked suddenly. What? Shizune questioned. My height? The fact that a guardian of the universe is rather short is what shocked you, isn't it? He said with a smile on his face. Well, Shizune had the grace to blush in embarrassment. But quite alright, young lady. You'd be amazed how many species that have made our ranks are surprised when they see us for the first time. Even though these people were here to take Naruto to their own planet, Shizune couldn't help but like the little blue old man at that moment. Naruto's apartment. Naruto had managed to get a few hours sleep before waking up just before the morning sun had risen. Since then he had been sitting cross-legged in his apartment. Curiosity got the better of him and decided to open the storage scroll of his clan. To his delight, he saw there were several scrolls inside, each with a symbol to identify themselves, and each had one subject to teach him. The current one he was reading had the symbol for wind on it, which meant wind ninjutsu, but the other he saw had the Uzumaki symbol on it, which meant for few ninjutsu. That was just 2 of the scrolls. There were 3 others, one that was tailored to his blood, when he discovered his second nature transformation, almost like a summoning contract, except he just needed to apply his blood onto the seal that held the scroll. Another had what appeared to be the symbol of Konoha on it. He didn't know what it was, but there was a note attached to it from Tsunade. He decided to see those 2 other scrolls after arriving on Oa. Finally he saw a smaller scroll. This one was just a normal sealing scroll used to put objects in. When he used to summon the object in question, it nearly brought him to tears. There was a photo of his parents together with Kushina, obviously pregnant with him, with his father Minato sitting next to her. After seeing this, he immediately put it back into the scroll, along with adding his photo of Team Kakashi into the scroll's summoning circle. He also put his pay stub into it, and had all 3 items sealed inside the scroll. Before he went to sleep last night, Naruto made a decision. Even though he had his ring, which, by Hal Jordan's own admission, was a weapon that was forced to be reckoned with, he could not rely on it, and forego everything he has learned. To be the best Green Lantern he could be, he needed to keep his training as a shinobi as a big part of that process. Needless to say, both he and Kurama were pleased with his decision. Naruto was currently reading up on the wind style, and his jutsu he suddenly heard a knock on the door. Naruto sighed and put the wind scroll back into the sealing scroll, and took a deep breath. "It's time," said Kurama. "Yeah, it is," Naruto responded as he sat up and walked to the door. There standing was Hal Jordan. "Hey kid," said Hal in greeting. Naruto was a little miffed at being called kid, but he let it go as he was just being friendly. "Mind if I come in?" Hal asked. Naruto nodded and ushered him into his apartment. Hal looked around and saw a modest but still large apartment inside. He saw very little, but that was understandable with Naruto explaining, albeit briefly, about what happened to the village. Looking back at the rest of it, Hal assumed that Naruto's apartment was also going through reconstruction. "You live here all by yourself?" he asked. "Yeah." "Why do you ask?" said Naruto with an eyebrow raised. "Nothing, it's just you're so young." "Where are your parents?" Hal asked. Immediately he regretted when he saw the sadness in his eyes briefly. "They're both dead," said Naruto. Well, he was happy to have met them at least once and was proud to be their child. He still missed them. Strange, even after one meeting he could, but hey, he loved them anyway. Hal's eyes widened in hearing this. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Me too. But don't worry about," said Naruto. "So, anything you wanted to talk about before we head out?" Hal asked, trying to get to know the kid after an awkward silence. "Actually, there's one thing," Naruto said as he grabbed the lantern that was next to his newly inherited scroll. "Last time the ring told me I had 30% left in power. When you left, you didn't exactly tell me how to recharge it," he said deadpanned. Hal rubbed the back of his head. "You're sorry about that. A lot of things were happening at the time with Tomari dying and all, but if you want I can show you now." "Sounds like a good idea," said Naruto, ready to learn how to recharge the ring. "Well, it's actually not hard. All you have to do is put your hand into the lantern and speak the oath," said Hal. "Oath?" Tomari mentioned it, but I thought it was just him being delirious from the blood loss, thought Naruto. Naruto then raised the lantern and pushed his ring into the lantern. The area around the ring glowed as soon as it touched the lantern. "Okay, now repeat after me," Hal instructed, to which Naruto nodded. "In brightest day," Hal said. "In brightest day," Naruto repeated. "In blackest night," Hal said. "In blackest night. No evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might. But where my power, Green Lantern's light." Naruto and Hal together. Immediately after saying the oath, Naruto could see the ring being charged with power. More than that, he could feel it. Almost as if he himself was being replenished by the battery as well. When it finished, Naruto found himself once again in uniform, which was seemingly brighter than it was before, diminishing back to normal. "Whoa!" Naruto exclaimed. "Yeah, I know. It's exhilarating when you charge it for the first time. Don't worry, you'll get used to it," said Hal, ending the lesson. Naruto nodded, then switched back to his civilian form. "So we've got some time to kill at the moment," said Hal. "Why? I thought we had to leave immediately," asked Naruto, perplexed. "Ganthet is meeting with Lady Tsunade at the moment. He said it would take an hour or so before he was ready to leave." Naruto's eyes widened in surprise upon hearing this. From his limited knowledge of the Guardians, he knew that they did not venture out of the homeworld of Oa at any time before now. "Why is he here?" said Naruto, voicing his thoughts. "Not sure myself, Naruto. Mostly I think it's because of the fact that you guys are the first species that the Guardians themselves haven't heard about. I think he wants to learn more about you guys before we head out to Oa," said Hal. Naruto could understand that. Hal said that they couldn't find their race in the encyclopedia. "Also, I think he was looking too for an excuse to leave Oa for a while," said Hal. "Okay, but I thought Guardians don't leave Oa, being the governing body for the Corps and all," said Naruto. "Yeah, about that," said Hal, rubbing the back of head, trying to figure out how to say this correctly. "Naruto, I'm gonna be straight with you. Besides Ganthet and one other member, the Guardians can be pretty much sticks in the mud. I mean, they make politicians on other planets look like saints. Mainly cause they pretty much have cut themselves off emotionally. In other words, they are stiff and cold bastards most of the time. Don't get more wrong. They have done a lot of good for the universe at large. They are just very by the book," said Hal, describing what Naruto would be in for. "In other words, very old people who haven't seen the outside of their planet fortress for billions of years and have no experience on the outside universe of today." "Sounds familiar," said Kurama, to which Naruto silently agreed. As he would be meeting Ganthet and the rest of the council, though he decided to reserve judgment of them before he compared them to the Konoha council. I'm guessing Ganthet is one of the exceptions then? Asked Naruto. Yeah, thank goodness, said Hal with respect to the old man. To be honest, he's one of the few of them I can actually trust completely. Judging by the confidence that Hal spoke about him, Naruto was inclined to believe Hal. He'd have to speak to this Ganthet himself. Anything else you want to talk about? We still got some time to kill, said Hal. Yeah, I just acquired some money yesterday. Is there any way we can still use it? Being interstellar police military and all? He asked, taking advantage of this opportunity to learn how to use one of the things he had been given. Easy, just talk to the Green Lantern Salak. Not only is he second in command to the Guardians, but he handles those lanterns who have currency from their home worlds. It shouldn't be a problem given that your culture is very similar to my race's Japanese culture, Hal explained. Naruto sighed in relief upon hearing that. Naruto had another question that was burning in his mind, but decided to table it until he was with both Ganthet and Hal. So Naruto decided to pass the time with make the conversation more about getting to know one another. How did you become a Green Lantern, Hal? He asked. Well, said Hal, caught off guard by his question. Hal had some difficulty answering, mainly cause he was a little used to hiding his secret identity for so long. Still, he had no real secrets with the rest of the Corps, so why not? Hal leaned against the wall. Well, basically I was in this flight simulator on Earth. Hokage's office. Ganthet was currently floating in front of the window with Tsunade standing next to him staring at him as he looked upon the rebuilding of the village and going about their day. When Shizune first introduced the small old man to her, Tsunade, like Shizune, could not believe that this and the others like him were responsible for governing an elite military corps, never mind advising an entire universe. But as she got to talking with him, she could see that this was someone who had experienced things she and the rest of her people could ever know. She thought at first that she should be angry with him. Angry at the fact that him and the Green Lantern that came with him were here to take one of the best people she knew away. Someone she considered a grandson, a member of her family, away. But she had to remember that this was Naruto's choice. She knew he wouldn't budge on it. It just wasn't in him to give up this responsibility to someone else. And she knew deep down inside that he needed this. Needed something to distract him from the pain of losing Sakura and having to kill Sasuke. As the old saying goes, work is good for grief. And she could see that underneath that wisdom Ganthet was a kind man. She didn't know about the rest of the Guardians, but at least with him he could trust. Proof of this is when he had asked what had happened here on this world. Since her desk was destroyed, she had chair put in front of her. While Ganthet had offered to just float while he listened, Tsunade insisted being he was a guest, to which the old man laughed and did as was asked. She then went into full detail on what happened from when she became Hokage to when Sasuke defected all the way to the events of the Fourth Great Ninja War. She also explained to him further on her people's chakra network, which he seemed very interested in, as he had not seen this many people with abilities except on Earth. The jutsus and techniques they employed surprised him the most. Evolution at one of its most unique examples. He thought to himself. Ganthet had just sat there and listened to what she had to say. However, surprisingly, he did not ask about Naruto yet. This made her think that he would rather ask about him directly from the source, which gave her more respect for him for doing so. After she had finished, Ganthet floated to the window looking at it. He turned around with sadness on his face. Lady Tsunade, I cannot speak for the rest of my order, but I wish to formally apologize to you. For what, Ganthet? Said Tsunade, confused on what he was on about. Ganthet turned from the window to look at her directly. Tomari was a gallant Green Lantern, one of our finest. Had he known about the gravity and consequences of this war you were in had for your planet, I am sure that he would have arrived to help. Even so, I must ask your forgiveness in our oversight of this planet, said Ganthet. Well, the gesture is appreciated, Ganthet. We were able to handle it ourselves, said Tsunade. Yes, you have, said Ganthet. I'm guessing that Naruto played a major role in the outcome of this war, he asked with a knowing smile on his face. Tsunade saw that, which meant he knew the answer already. Truth is, Naruto is the only reason we are standing with our free will intact, said Tsunade. Ganthet was now further intrigued. Up until now the discussion had been more general in terms of topics. She had told him of Obito and Madarachi has planned to remove the free will of everyone on the planet with infinite Tsukiyomi, and remove everyone's free will by placing them in an eternal genjutsu. Ganthet had found it difficult to believe that such a thing was possible. Hence his further interest in the Ajnian's chakra network. It also made him wary of what the rest of the council would say when Naruto was presented to them. Near the end of the war, me and my fellow Kage had vowed to defeat Madara, so Naruto could face Obito, thought we did not know his identity at the time. Tsunade put her hands together and her hands tightened at the thought. Suffice it to say, we failed, and in the end Naruto ended up having to clean up our mess, while taking Obito out at the same time. He had help from the rest of the alliance, but us 5 Kage, the supposed strongest ninja of the 5 elemental nations, were left barely alive. Ganthet could see the shame on her face as she clenched her teeth at the end of her explanation. If this Madara Uchiha was as powerful as you say, then clearly you did everything you could to stop him. Even so, we shouldn't have to rely on one person alone. That's probably the only good thing out of Naruto leaving. We need to learn to stand on our own without him, she said. She then laughed a bit, thinking how ironic it was to say that, remembering seeing how she first met Naruto. May I inquire to what's amusing, Lady Tsunade? Ganthet inquired. Just thinking about how it was in an earlier time, she said. In any case, I understand to some degree where you are coming from. There are times myself that I wish I could fight alongside the Corps, instead of simply sending them off to handle missions on our behalf as well, said Ganthet with regret in his voice. He then looked to the destroyed table that had yet to be replaced. Although I get the feeling I do not want to be your enemy, Lady Tsunade, he said. Seeing the direction to where he was looking at, Tsunade had the grace to blush in embarrassment at the desk. She decided they were getting off track and returned to the topic at hand, namely Naruto's departure. Before you meet him, there are a few things you need to know about Naruto. I can't tell you everything, there are some things you will have to talk to him directly about. Suffice it to say, Naruto has had a tougher life growing up than most on our world. There are circumstances surrounding that I think it would be better to hear from him. But losing Sakura, my apprentice and the girl he loved, and having to kill Sasuke, his best friend, has left him somewhat withdrawn. But I can say this, he has one of the purest of hearts that I have ever seen. Even after everything he has gone through, he has never given up. And he never will give up on anything. That's the kind of person he is, said Tsunade. Naruto made the decision to join your order, Ganthet, because he felt it was his responsibility after Tomari died. That's the kind of young man you have joining your order, and I. She stopped from speaking for a bit. And you want to make sure he will be alright, said Ganthet. Yes, she said, speaking not as the Hokage of Konoha, but as someone who is as close a grandparent as Naruto ever had. Ganthet took a deep breath. Lady Tsunade, I can't promise to keep him safe. As Hal has stated, it is a tough life to lead. Naruto and Tough are practically old friends, she joked, then turned serious once again. But I can promise to help prepare him for his duties, said Ganthet. Your race has just now become aware of the universe at large. Naruto, as well as your people, will need guidance more than protection. As you yourself have said. I cannot speak for the rest of the council, but I can reassure you that he will be trained and ready for the life of a Green Lantern, said Ganthet. I understand. I just want you to know that much about Naruto you're going to have to ask him yourself. I can say that whatever his faults, and whatever secrets, he always does the right thing, said Tsunade with full support for Naruto. Ganthet smiled at Tsunade's devotion to this boy that he had yet to meet, yet he still had questions that needed to be answered, but refrained from doing so. They had just met after all. He would be a poor guest if he just continually asked questions of one of its leaders. Still, there was one thing he did need to know. Answer me this final question if you would then, said Ganthet. Tsunade nodded, wondering what it was that he wanted to ask. Does Naruto have an issue with authority? He asked. This one Tsunade had no trouble answering. Yes, but only with those that he feels haven't earned his respect. Again, to her surprise, Ganthet smiled. Then I know I'm going to like him, he said. Tsunade smiled. She was liking this guy more and more. Ganthet had heard as much as he needed to. He then closed his eyes. It was time to contact Hal Jordan. It was time. Naruto's apartment. Hal had finished telling Naruto how his flight simulator had been taken off its hinges to meet with the dying Abin-Sur, and had become a Green Lantern. It gave Naruto a feeling that they had something in common. Afterwards, they just talked for a while. Naruto could see that Hal Jordan was a good guy. However, from when he talked about women, he seemed to be less than committal to a long-term relationship. Part of it, he could see, was the job, but the rest really squared with him having trouble keeping it in his pants. At least he was more subtle about it. He had just finished talking about another of their members who happened to be a princess who ruled a planet from frontier space when suddenly he heard Ganthet's voice in his head. Hal, it's time. Bring Naruto to the Hokage's office, he said, then cut himself off. Break time's over, kid. Time to go, said Hal. Naruto nodded and immediately went to grab his scroll and strap it to his back. Naruto was about to grab his battery when a thought occurred. Hal, can you show me how to open a portal into the pocket dimension that we use to put our batteries in? Sure, said Hal, pointing hearing at the wall near Naruto and opening the portal. Truth is, Hal never felt comfortable putting his lantern in the mini black hole. Even though he had been told 1,000 times from John that it was safe, he still kept it in his locker on Ferris Fields when he was on Earth. Naruto put his battery inside the portal, and then closed himself after seeing Hal do it. All he had to do was concentrate on closing the dimensional rift with the ring. The rest felt pretty natural as the ring's lights around the portal closed it. Seeing Naruto ready to leave, they moved to the door. Naruto turned to have one last look at the place, then moved to open the door. Both him and Hal were shocked on what they saw behind it. They were all the villagers, Tsunade's work crew, even some of the remaining members of the allied shinobi forces there standing at his door. Right in front of him was Konoha, to which Naruto knew was leading this pack of people. Konoha, what's going on? He asked, still in a state of shock at seeing all these people here with smiles and sadness all the same. Granny Tsunade gave me, and the rest of Team Abisu, to tell the rest of the villagers, that you were leaving. She said, and I'm quoting, Naruto is going to get a send-off, whether he likes it or not. So here they are. Konoha responded excitedly. Naruto couldn't believe his ears or his eyes at hearing him say this. Or the sudden hug that surrounded his waist as he saw the person he considered his little brother hug him. Naruto hugged him back before Konoha let him go. Come on, you need to get to the office, right? Said Konoha. I thought you would be trying to stop me. Naruto questioned. Konoha looked at him seriously. Naruto, after beating Madara and now joining this green, whatever core. That comment made Hal's eyebrow twitch under his mask. I think it's safe to say that being Hokage isn't going to be enough for you anymore, he said with confidence. Naruto kept a lump back in his throat as Konoha said these words. He took a deep breath, adjusted the strap that held his clan scroll, and walked towards the Hokage's office. All the while Hal stood there in silence watching these events unfold before him, the way these people look at him with such hope and trust. One of the only other people I know that can have that kind of charisma is Superman, Hal thought as he flew over to meet up with Ganthet. On top of the Hokage's residence building, Ganthet was watching from below with Tsunade watching Naruto now approach through the crowd of people watching their hero heading to the office. Though they didn't have an exact idea of what was going on, they knew Naruto was leaving to a place unknown or seen by any of them before. I apologize, Ganthet. I didn't mean to force to become a part of this. It's just that after everything I felt Naruto deserved a send-off from the village, said Tsunade. As Ganthet continued to watch as the boy made his way saying goodbye to the villagers, he couldn't help but feel their pride and adulation at Naruto. It's quite fine. For when you expected Hal to be here, not me. More importantly, from what you have told me about Naruto, I believe he has earned it. Tsunade nodded to him in thanks. Just then Hal arrived and landed next to Ganthet. Ganthet, are you seeing this? Questioned Hal looking down as Naruto approached the bottom of by the original Rookie 9, saying his final farewells to them. Yes, I am, said Ganthet. After he said that, he turned to see that Tsunade was no longer alone, and saw the other 4 Kage were standing in attendance, along with the man Ganthet figured was Killer Bee in attendance. Eventually Naruto walked up to the balcony to see Tsunade, Inoki, Mei, Gaara were standing with Lady Tsunade to his left, while seeing Hal standing to his left alone, with a very short blue man floating next to him. Said floating man floated in front of him. Hello Naruto Uzumaki. As Hal has already told you, I am Ganthet. Naruto stood nervous at first. Nice to meet you, sir, said Naruto, not sure how to approach him at the moment. It's alright. There's no need to be nervous, said Ganthet in a comforting tone like one were talking to his grandson. Naruto took a deep breath. Between the unexpected send-off as he walked into people who had come to witness him leaving to the moment of him leaving his homeworld, it had taken some time to get over the shock of it all. Managing to control himself, he turned to Gaara and Killer Bee. The two knew this was coming the whole time, said Naruto. Gaara and Killer Bee just shrugged their shoulders. Ahem, said Tsunade. Naruto took another deep breath as he walked to her. I guess it's the part where you make it official then, said Naruto. Before that we have to tell the people what's going on completely, said Tsunade. The group then walked over to the balcony to view the crowd that covered the village. As they did, the people on the ground looked up to see these strangers, the Kage and the hero that saved them all stand before them. Gaara, said Mei. Gaara turned to her. As the regimental commander, I think it best if you make the speech. Gaara looked at Tsunade, who nodded in return. While Naruto may have hailed from Konoha, ultimately his victory was for them. And Gaara was Naruto's friend, so it made the most sense to agree with her fellow Kage on this. Gaara walked up a bit to get a better view of the people that were in the village. Today the person responsible for our victory in the 4th Great Ninja War, the person who has made peace possible in the ninja world, will leave us today. That person, as you know, is the person next to me. Naruto Uzumaki, he began. The crowd roared at hearing his name, but also they could hear sad pleas of don't gods and please stays. While this is painful, to say farewell to the person who has been a hero to us all, Naruto, above any one of us here, has earned the right to make this choice. He leaves not out of spider anger, turning to Hal and Ganthet, but out of a new duty. One not just us, but a larger plane of existence beyond any of us have ever imagined. For that is what he is. A protector. And whether he sees it or not, he is a hero, said Gaara. Naruto had to struggle to keep tears from coming out, touched by Gaara's words. We all know the struggles that he has faced. What he has had to give up in order to bring peace to our world. As we move with new challenges that are presented, we must learn to stand on our own and follow the example that he had left for us, not just to honor him, but to prove that he had not left this world in vain. He joins an elite order from beyond the stars to help protect a larger community of worlds. And as sad as it is to see my friend leave, I know, without a doubt, that he will be a great asset to them, the Green Lantern Corps, as he has been to us, yelled Gaara. The rest of the people cheered as loudly. As Ganthet and Hal watched on, he whispered to the Guardian. I'm starting to feel a little guilty here. It feels like we are taking the second coming here, said Hal. I agree. Tsunade told me that Naruto was important, but this... Ganthet himself had rarely seen anyone gather this much of a response from their people and peers. Indeed, said Ganthet deep in thought. For Naruto's part, he felt grateful that Tsunade and Gaara had this planned, even though he still didn't see himself a hero. Naruto Uzumaki called Tsunade, which had him stand at attention. As Hokage of Konoha, I hereby dismiss you from your duties as ninja of the village. She grabbed his shoulders. Do me one favor though. Name it Granny, said Naruto. Be the best Green Lantern they got, she said. Naruto smiled. Yes ma'am, said Naruto. Take care of yourself Naruto Uzumaki, said Gaara walking up with his hand raised. This time Naruto took it without Gaara needing sand to force him to. Oh his brother, said Naruto. That last comment gave Gaara a very rare smile. Naruto turned to the others. Hey, make sure your brother doesn't get into any more trouble. What you talking about son? After this I'm gonna. Killer Bee was saying, before getting punched behind the head. That was all the answer Naruto needed. Turning he walked to in front of Inoki and Mei. I don't know you guys all that well, but I have to say I hope you guys can make whatever this is work. Cause this world needs the elemental nations to work together, he said. You can count on us Naruto Uzumaki, said Mei. We will hold up to what you have inspired us to do, said Inoki. Naruto nodded, then walked over to Ganthet and Hal Jordan. Are you ready to make the journey to Oa Naruto Uzumaki? Asked Ganthet. Naruto closed his eyes for a moment, remembering everything that has happened to him since he graduated the academy, moments such as when he first met his team and Kakashi-sensei. His first mission in the battles with Zabuza and Haku, which defined his ninja way, meeting Gaara and the Chunin exams, which would lead to Sasuke's path to darkness. His fight with Gaara, meeting Tsunade and Jiraiya, his fights with Sasuke where he failed to bring him in and vowed to somehow keep his promise to Sakura. Jiraiya becoming his teacher, his training under him. Becoming friends with Kurama and attaining his true power as a Jinchuriki and defeating Madara and Obito Uchiha. His mind fast-forwarded through the losses he had suffered. His parents when he was an infant, Jiraiya his mentor and godfather, then finally to again seeing Sakura's corpse and the death of Sasuke Uchiha. This all led to when Tomari's ring found him, and took him there, and from there helped him make his decision. To become a Green Lantern. When Naruto opened his eyes again they were green, and his uniform immediately appeared on him in brief but vibrant flash of green light. I'm ready, said Naruto with determination. Ganthet and Hal nodded at this. You ready Kurama? Naruto asked. Hell yes. Let's go, said Kurama. Naruto could tell he was excited about this. Truth is Naruto was as well. A new adventure awaited them both now. He turned to the 5 cage once again, and looked straight at Tsunade, who had the same look of sadness and pride as she had when he left to join the war. With that look Hal, Ganthet and Naruto both rocketed into the sky, leaving green after images of themselves. As they did the crowd from the ground could see them fly off like green comets headed into the sky. They fell silent as they saw their hero, for some their friend, leave for a new venture. Good luck Naruto, Tsunade thought to herself. Forest area far outside of Konoha. However, unbeknownst to anyone, outside of the village a cloaked figure looked upon the event. As the three flew up into the sky, the person in question he looked upon it with curiosity. Morbid fascination gleaming from golden, slitted snake-like eyes. Above Ajnin's atmosphere. Naruto, Hal and Ganthet had just left the atmosphere of Ajnin, and headed towards its orbit. Naruto had turned around after making sure that the scroll which contained his items was still secure. As he was doing that, he looked around the emptiness of space, and had to think to himself what this meant. He was actually in space, above his planet. Having some trouble adjusting Naruto, said Hal. A little bit, give a minute, he said. Both Hal and Ganthet were thankful that while in flight the ring created a personal shield so that Green Lanterns can breathe. This orientation is expected Naruto. Take deep breaths to calm yourself, Ganthet advised. Naruto did as he asked, keeping himself calm. He then looked down to his home planet below him. Naruto had seen the beauty of his planet on surface, but he had never known what it looked like from above space. As he saw his whole planet for the very first time, Naruto could not help but be amazed at the multicolored planet below him. That's one hell of view kid. Should have done this sooner, said Kurama, also impressed with the view they were privy to. Nothing quite like, is it? Seeing a world from a distance for the first time, said Hal. Yeah, said Naruto in astonishment. Shaking his head he turned to Hal and Ganthet. I'm sorry about that Ganthet, I understand that we should be heading to Oa quickly. We've wasted too much time as it is, said Naruto. No apology necessary Naruto. Every new recruit gets disoriented and astonished when they leave their homeworld and see it in space for the first time, Ganthet responded. I'm guessing we have a distance to travel, said Naruto. Yet even at top speed it's going to take us at least a day to reach Oa. The Aku system is one of the farthest systems in Sector 2813, from Sector 0000, said Ganthet, agreeing with Naruto's rough assessment. If you want Ganthet, you can teleport back to Oa. Let the council know that Naruto will meet with them when we arrive. As generous as that is, Hal, I much prefer to travel with you. I have been looking forward to speaking with our newest recruit. The time it takes to reach Oa will be fine for that, said Ganthet. Naruto felt strangely honored that a guardian wanted to speak with him directly before returning to the council. Well, in that case, said Hal. He then formed a shuttle construct around them. Naruto found himself on small shuttle with 2 seats in the back space apart, and 1 pilot chair with Hal at the controls. Since this is your first space flight, I figure we just have you sit down, and let me do the flying. Believe me kid, flying through space can be very dangerous, he said. Naruto was about to protest when Kurama stepped in to talk to him in his mind. Kid, the guy's not kidding. Space may be mostly empty, but who knows what we could run into out there, from comets, spaceships, even being stuck in a gravitational well. We both know you haven't flown in space yet, so let's take this slowly, Kurama advised. Yeah, you're right, Kurama. Thanks. Naruto responded, mentally already feeling tired. So he moved to the left seat, unstrapped his scroll and put it on the floor and sat down. What Naruto wasn't paying attention to as he did was Ganthet watching him. Being a telepathic species, he knew when someone was having a telepathic conversation. But who is he talking to though, he thought to himself. It was a question he decided to ask when they were alone. He sat down to the right seat. Fasten your seatbelts, have your table trays in the upright position, Hal joked as he grabbed the controls. The ship started to move towards Oa at light speed. Naruto hadn't felt anything but could still see from his side window that the ship was going very fast. So Naruto, I imagine you must have questions, inquired Ganthet. We now have some time to talk if you wish. Just one question, Ganthet sir, said Naruto. Naruto, please just call me Ganthet. Sir makes me feel old, said Ganthet with a smile as he leaned back on his seat with his hands crossed. He makes jokes, that's something, said Kurama. Okay Ganthet, there's just one question that I have at the moment that I feel like I need answered. And that is, said Ganthet. Why me? Why was I chosen out of all the others on my planet? I know the ring seeks out those who have the ability to overcome fear, but a lot of my people can't do that. So why did it choose me? Naruto questioned, looking down at his ring hand. I suppose that's the only question that really matters, said Ganthet. Ever felt the same way when he was chosen? Who? Naruto asked. Ever, the first Green Lantern. This came from Hal as he was steering the ship. It's one of the first stories you learn. Guess with everything we got sidetracked a bit. Indeed. I know you speak the stories well, Hal, but perhaps you should let me tell him this time, Ganthet suggested. That idea might give him a better perspective from one of the people that knew him, said Hal. Indeed, said Ganthet, turning back to Naruto. To quote scripture, Naruto, the first one given a ring was not the first lantern. Ganthet began. The first was ever. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. And also check out the other videos that I have created, and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.
It's not a game.